How are you? Kumusta kayo? Kiora? Good day sa lahat na nakikinig po sa atin. Si Kuya Romy po ito sa Tuesdays with Kuya Romy. Super Pinoy dito sa Up na TV. And as usual, we have guests. We have a guest today na mag-share ng kanilang experience sa kanilang community. Ano ang kanilang ginagawa para makatulong sa mga komunidad natin dito sa New Zealand. No? And to those who are listening to us, the person that I'm going to introduce is working with a community group, and what they're doing is they're trying to rehabilitate or teach the Filipino language or Tagalog to children in New Zealand. Okay,
that's right.
So let me welcome Margo Tolentino Orpia.
Yeah, that's
Orpia.
right. Opo. Maraming
Kamusta?
salamat. Mabuti naman po. Maraming salamat po for having me here. And I'm so glad po and excited to share with you what's going on sa community natin, lalo na po dito sa New Zealand. And so, kaya po ako nandito.
First of all, ano yung pangalan ng grupo nyo?
So, tinatawag po kaming Filipino Family Club. Para inclusive po siya na hindi lamang mga kids, kundi the whole family. Na mostly po ay yung mga ating mga kababayan na dinala ang kanilang buong pamilya at na dito na lumalaki sa New Zealand ng kanilang mga anak. Kaya po, ang aming pong mga kinekater sa aming programa ay mga bata at ang mga magulang. At hindi lamang po sa kanila, kundi even po yung mga foreigners who has the Filipino heart. Kasi lagi po sinasabi nila na pagka nakikilala nila ang mga pamilyang Pilipino, ang ugali natin, ang kultura natin, natutuwa po sila. So may part na sinasabi nilang, we are also Filipinos at heart. Kaya even po foreigners ay welcome po sa aming mga ginagawang programa para lamang po maituro at hindi makalimutan ang Tagalog, ang ating wika.
Yeah. Before you continue, can you tell us a bit about the organization, itong grupo nyo? Kailan ba kayo nag-form?
So, before pa po, pagdating namin dito sa New Zealand, ako po'y dumating dito mga 4 years ago. And ang una ko pong nakilala ay si Ate Ana sa library.
Botany Library?
Sa Botany Library po. Tapos, napagkakwentuhan po namin kung kumusta po dito sa New Zealand. At the same time, doon pa po, that was 2017 something, nabanggit na po namin na sana meron din tayong eskwelahan na kagaya ng mga Chinese school o ng mga iba't ibang schools na pag-aaralan ng ating lengguwahe. Gawa ng, yun po yung concern natin bilang magulang, ng ating mga anak ay lalaki na hindi malilimutan ng kung saan sila nagmula.
Okay.
So, doon po nagsimula. So, si Ate Ana po, brainchild po niya to.
Sa Ana?
Ito po si Ate Ana Galsim.
Okay. Anong role niya sa grupo niyo o sa library?
Sa library po, siya po ay librarian po siya sa Botany Library. And siya po yung gumawa ng paraan para po magkaroon ng slot dahil meron pong mga programa ang Auckland Council para po magkaroon ng iba't ibang programa or activities para sa mga community, and gumawa po ng paraan si Ate Ana na maisali naman ang Filipino culture.
So ilang buwan na kayo?
So bali nag-officially po nag-start, sinimulan po niya na magpaskil ng mga advertisement kung sino pong interesado bandang August
2020. Okay.
Opo. At gawa po ng COVID na postpone po lahat ng mga programa. And dahil sinisimulan pa lang po, natutuwa po kami kasi sobrang positive po ng response ng community. And sobrang blessing din po sa amin ang isa pang Ate Ana, si Ate Annabel Valdez naman po. Meron na po siyang community sa kanilang trabaho sa May Fisher and Paykel. Meron na po sila mga programang sayaw, mga production na Pilipino po. Karamihan po kasi ng kanilang mga kasama doon ay Pilipino. Siya po yung nag-introduce ng marami pa pong ibang Pilipino at dinadala po sa library para po magkaroon ng active participation ng iba pang pamilya.
Okay. So ano yung structure nitong ginagawa niyong program?
Sa ngayon po, ang naibibigay pa lamang po sa amin ay once a month, every fourth Sunday of the month, between 1 o'clock to 2 p.m. ay meron pong pagtuturo ng sayaw, kanta, basic phrases, communication phrases ng Tagalog, at marami pong laro. Maraming laro.
Between 1 and 2 p.m.
Yes. Between 1 and 2 p.m. every fourth Sunday of the month at Botany Library po.
Okay. So, yung pong kung meron kayong mga anak na sa tingin nyo matutulungan itong programa na to, fourth Sunday between 1 and 2 p.m. sa Botany
Library. Second floor po yun.
Second floor. Okay.
That's right.
Babalik po kami. Magpahinga lang po muna tayo saglit.
Super Pinoy, ikwento mo.
Super Pinoy, ikwento mo.
We're back dito po sa Tuesdays with Kuya Romy. At nandito po tayo ngayon sa Up na TV Channel 36. Super Pinoy, ikwento mo. At ang kakwentuhan po natin ngayon dito si Margo. Balik tayo, Margo, dun sa pinag-uusapan natin sa library, sa botany.
Opo.
Sino naman ang mga tumutulong sa inyo? Sino yung mga nagtuturo sa mga bata?
Opo. So, marami po kaming mga volunteers. Pinangungunahan po yan ni Ate Annabel Valdez nga, at saka si Ate Teresa Xiao, and meron din po si Kuya Renato, at may mga iba pong mga Pilipinong pamilya. Sa ngayon po ay may mga 20 na po na parents na talagang active po sila, na very supportive. Last Sunday po, nagturo po si Ate Teresa, the previous Sunday, nagturo po si Ate Teresa Xiao. Siya po ay Filipino-Chinese, pero tinuturo po talaga niya yung, binibigyan niya yung puso niya sa kanyang pagtuturo sa mga bata. So, depende po sa availability. Nagkakataon po na kung sino po yung available, siya po yung magtuturo.
So, bali, walang curriculum na sinusundan sa ngayon?
Sa ngayon po, meron pong DRINAF lamang po na whole year plan para po meron pong flow kung ano po yung matututunan ng mga bata na magsisimula sa pagbati, tapos susunod po yung mga paggalang, at unti-unti pong maituturo ang ating mga ang kultura natin sa mga lesson plans.
So, yung edad ng mga bata na nagpupunta sa inyo,
halo-halong edad po yan.
kasama yung mga batang isip?
Kasama po ang mga batang isip at batang puso.
Batang isip at batang puso. Siguro ang criteria lang is dapat meron silang desire na matutunan ang kultura natin at ang lingwahe natin.
Opo.
Ngayon, kayo po kung nakikinig kayo, kung nasaan man po kayo sa New Zealand ngayon, kung interesado po kayo na magkaroon din ng ganitong problema, siguro mamaya po ilalagay natin yung mga contact details ng Filipino Family Club dito para kung meron kayong mga katanungan ay matanong ninyo. Kasama ba rito ang funding? Saan kayo kumukuha ng pondo para sa
yan
proyekto
po.
niyo?
Sa ngayon po, sobra po kaming nabibless gawa ng full support po ang Auckland Council. So, full support po ang library, na even po materials, drawing materials, art materials, printing, visual aids, television, nag-provide po sila na pinapagamit po sa amin. Maliban po sa venue, na meron na pong accessible na venue po ng paggaganapan ng aming mga lessons. Pati po ang mga materials na ginagamit ay provided po ng council.
Ng council.
Opo.
Ang galing pala naman ang ginagawa
Opo.
ng council para sa community.
Opo. Kaya po sobrang mai-inspire po tayo na do our part, na gawin po natin, na andito na po yung pagkakataon. Siguro ang hinahanap na lang po ng New Zealand ay maging active tayo in participating, na i-acknowledge din ang ating kultura. Gawa ng napapansin po natin dito po sa New Zealand, madalang pa lamang po ang Pilipino. Marami na pong mga Pilipinos dito, pero yung selebrasyon na iisa, yun po yung pangarap natin, na darating ang panahon na kagaya na po meron na tayong very visible ba na representative dito sa New Zealand, lalo na ng kultura natin.
Ganda aspiration yun para sa ating mga Pinoy. Okay.
Opo, lalo na po siguro sa ating mga anak. Counting, let's say, 10 to 20 years from now, even 50 years from now. Pangarap po natin na ang ating mga anak, kahit po sila dito pinanganak sa New Zealand, hindi po nila malilimutan ang kanilang kultura.
Okay. So, bigyan po natin ng pagkakataon ngayon si Margo na magbigay ng kanyang mga pagbati at saka mga iba pang mensahe na gusto niyang iwanan sa inyo? Margo.
Ayun po. So maraming salamat po muli, Kuya Romy, for having me here. At iniimbita ko po kayong lahat, kung kayo po'y malapit sa Botany, sa may Botany Town Center, sa Botany Library, every fourth Sunday of the month po, from 1 to 2 p.m., welcome pong matuto ng ating wika. Hindi lamang po sa ating mga anak na Pilipino, kundi sa kanilang mga kaibigan din po. At sa inyong mga kaibigan na ibang lahi, ay welcome na welcome pong umaten.
Okay. So maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay po ninyo dito sa Tuesdays with Kuya Romy, kung saan ating iniimbitahan ng mga individuals at mga grupo para mag-share ng kanilang ginagawa sa community. Ngayon, kung kayo po ay merong komunidad o merong kayong ginagawa sa komunidad natin, na nakakatulong para sa integration ng mga, hindi lang Pinoy, kundi ng, sabi natin, lahat tayong mga bagong dating dito sa New Zealand. No? Let us know para ma-share po ninyo sa ating komunidad dito sa New Zealand. Muli po, nandito po tayo sa Super Pinoy, ikwento mo sa App na TV Channel 36. Kita-kita po ulit tayo sa susunod na linggo.
Super Pinoy, ikwento mo!
Super Pinoy, ikwento mo.
This is your opera princess, Jasmine Damo, reporting for Super Pinoy Ikwento Mo. Today, we are going to be asking several people on what Easter means to them and how do they celebrate it. Come on, let's go!
Jazz, what does Easter mean to me? Well, it's one of the two most exciting times of the year, I think. And this is the time when we celebrate what Jesus did for us in dying on the cross, which is a time of triumph. While it is always a sad event too, it is actually a time for us to rejoice because He did that for us to set us free. Awesome, eh?
So what does Easter mean to you?
Fun, joy, and having a great time, and kids having fun with chocolate. It means that Jesus died for all of us to save us.
What does Easter mean to you?
Easter to me, it means a time where Jesus comes alive again. It's a happy time for us because we celebrate, and of course, we get chocolate and pizza. And for me, it's just the best holiday.
Okay, what does Easter mean to you?
It means it's a free holiday and I get a day off of school and I get 5 days off.
Jesus died on the cross to forgive our sins. Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus has risen.
Family and whānau and eating a few eggs and hot cross buns. That's Easter.
For me, Easter is a reminder of how Jesus died for our sins and resurrected, and that we can all live with Him inside of us. And it's just a great reminder of that, and just celebrating that He's with us always with our family.
I celebrate Easter by watching Attack on Titan. It's like the Titans are the Easter bunnies, or like the chocolate eggs, and then Levi Ackerman has to come and kill the Titans to find the eggs, and it just reminds me of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
It means a lot to me because it means celebrating everything, and means celebrating joy and Jesus and how everything's like going. It's about celebrating happiness, spreading the world with love, and yeah. Goodness, hope.
Goodness and hope.
Holiday!
Easter special.
This is Jazz reporting for Super Pinoy Ikwento Mo.
Ating alamin ang kwento mula sa VOA News.
Warmer weather, longer days, and blooming flowers all coincide with the Easter holiday. This year, despite the pandemic, is like any other as florists see an increase in business for the weekend.
People are just so excited that spring is finally here. It's been such a long winter. It's been longer than a normal winter. Like, it feels like last year was just winter the whole time. COVID has actually made people love flowers more, I think.
Easter, in which Christians celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, takes place either at the end of March or in early April, about the same time that tulips are in bloom in many places in the Northern Hemisphere.
People are really excited that the tulips are bursting out. And they're so, like, more than any other flower, they're so vigorous. Like, the way they come up and they're huge right away, and they grow so fast, and then the blooms are so colorful and over the top. I guess that's the Easter connection, the whole idea of being reborn for a new season.
Copus, who farms all of the flowers that she sells, says that as beautiful as the job can be, it comes with many challenges.
I mean, it's super physical. We carry buckets of water, and we, stand all day. And there's also a lot of, repetitive tasks that require a certain amount of, muscle memory. Wrapping bouquets is a great example. It's one of those things that people find very frustrating because it looks easy, but it's hard.
Last year, in the height of the pandemic, Copus closed down her shop for months, only fulfilling deliveries. In that time, she started an online grocery delivery service out of the back of the store to support local farmers as the restaurant business declined.
We're interested in farming because the land is so beautiful, and we love living here, and we wanted to find a way to use the resource in a productive way.
Now, after months of being shut down and undergoing a long winter, Copus is one of many florists excited to celebrate the Easter holiday and brighter days ahead. Isha Sarai, VOA News, Marshall, North Carolina.
9-year-old Nadia Pivov loves drawing and comics. She takes what she sees around her and puts it on paper.
This is her way of turning everything that surrounds her into characters and her own comic world. She adds humor and sarcasm, a little bit of irony to what she sees, different situations, people, and I believe that's truly unique.
The isolation of COVID made her turn to her comics as relief. Even her math workbook is full of fun drawings on the subject. Another notebook is dedicated to her grandmother's arrival from Russia. She even created a special series on pasta, a favorite food she learned to cook during the lockdown.
These macaroni are talking to each other. And here's some person who wants to eat them. And they have no idea what's coming.
At the beginning of the pandemic, Nadia started online comic drawing classes that have turned into a serious hobby. The young artist is even earning a little from her art. Together with her mom, she decides which topic to cover and how to present it in each session. Sushkova says all the planning and practice are paying off.
She's making her own comic world deeper and more intricate. She's broadening her arsenal of ideas and tools that she uses to convey her thoughts and emotions. The faces of her characters are getting more detailed. She pays close attention to mimics. She's developing her own style, making it more nuanced.
Nadia marked the start of the quarantine with a comic about the coronavirus that arrives on Earth from Mars and dinosaurs scatter away to stay safe. Today, a year later, she's focusing on a new superhero.
I started drawing a comic about superhero named Vaccine, who is fighting against the coronavirus. Here he's showing everyone how cool he is.
In Nadia's imaginary world, Vaccine tracks down the coronavirus and gets rid of it once and for all. And by doing so, he frees the world and lets Nadia see her friends again in person. Jenny Adulu for VOA News, Boston.
Hey there, step up to the mic and say hello.
Hello.
Hello, and welcome to Planet Word.
Hello. Yo, hi there.
You're standing in front of about 1,000 words.
I'm Ann Friedman. I'm the founder and CEO of Planet Word, a new museum of words and language in Washington, D.C. From an early age, grew up loving to read, grew up being really interested in words and foreign languages, and that's why I started investigating the idea of creating a museum of words and language. Being able to occupy the Franklin School, this National Historic Landmark, as the home for Planet Word. We like to call ourselves the world's first voice-activated museum. So we have lots of voice recognition technology, but we also have motion activation. We have places throughout the museum where just by scooting in on a chair, the exhibit begins. Or by laying a book in a special holder, you'll trigger projection technology.
There's a character called the Onceler, and the Onceler is essentially us and what we're doing to the planet.
The iconic scenes from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland have captivated audiences for generations. Off with their heads! Oh dear, oh dear!
We have these paint brushes, and you can basically dip one of these high-tech paintbrushes in a word palette and paint the scenery around you on the walls with that word. When I dip my brush in that word, what's going to happen? You know, let me see. And I bet when you do that, you are never going to forget that word. It's going to be sunk into your conscience.
Cultural subject we call cooking.
Everything's a wheel, turning and turning, never stopping.
The frogs is part of it, and the bugs, and the fish, and the wood thrush too, and people.
Jokes, what makes them funny? You know, it's those homophones and double entendres.
Oh, come on,
That
come
was
on.
not
Come on,
close
come
to
on.
funny.
A little laugh.
We've had fantastic programs that are reaching a much larger audience. People from all around the US and even in other countries who can listen and enjoy our virtual programs. Ni hao.
Ni hao. My name is Yan Rong. I'm from China, and my first language is Mandarin. It's the most
You see on the
common language in
globe,
world.
China's lighting
Over a
up.
billion people speak it.
Habari, I'm Doreen. I'm from Tanzania and I speak Swahili.
I speak Icelandic. I speak Amharic.
Hindi.
Korean.
Hawaiian.
Farsi.
And I speak Hebrew.
Shalom.
Shalom. I'm Norm.
The word wall is telling the story of where do words come from in the English language. How did they get into English? And there are many ways that words enter our language. In fact, the exhibit designer and I came up with 24 ways that words enter English, but we settled on about 8 important ways that are represented by the word wall and the story it tells.
English has thousands of words. We don't use that much.
So that's words that came in from war and from the Vikings, and then in 1066, and the Norman Conquest, words that we borrow from other languages.
Part of the story of English is the story of violence, warfare, conquest, and lots of it. It all started when Germanic tribes sailed to what's now England and conquered the people who lived there.
You know, I was a reading and writing teacher, and I think I was pretty successful at that, but like I said, test scores in language arts have been stagnating for years. How could we try to reverse these negative trends? And the idea that came to me was through informal learning. That's what happens at museums. You make learning fun, you have big spaces, you can attract celebrities, all sorts of things that a person can't do on their own, or a teacher can't do on his or her own in a school classroom. So I felt like having a museum allowed me the space and the influence and the sort of national attention that maybe would make reading and language and words cool again.
2, 1.
Private spaceflight company SpaceX successfully test-launched its crewless Starship 11 this week from a foggy Boca Chica, Texas. The test came to an abrupt end minutes later when the rocket appeared to explode on its way back down to Earth.
1 kilometer altitude.
SpaceX engineer John Insprucker was providing commentary at the time.
When we got to 10 kilometers, the entry, we had some nice views from the exterior camera showing the flaps were quiet as we descended. But then we had the camera freeze up as we got into the engine ignition sequence, and so we're going to have to find out from the team what happened.
Insprucker spoke over the final frozen image received from Starship 11, and he made it clear that the video feed would not return. Pieces of debris crashed as far as 8 kilometers from the landing site. Meanwhile, a U.S. congressional committee this week announced an investigation into safety requirements regulators say the company violated on a commercial launch in December. But there is good news from SpaceX. The company announced the final members of the crew it plans to send on what it calls the world's first all-civilian mission to space. The Inspiration 4 mission now includes an engineer and a teacher and is slated to launch no earlier than mid-September from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. SpaceX held a fundraising raffle to select the crew.
And there, the 2 one-year crew members, Scott Kelly, Mikhail Kornienko.
In other news, the journal Circulation published a report that says in space, your heart gets smaller. Astronaut Scott Kelly spent nearly a year on board the International Space Station from 2015 to 2016. In that time, his heart shrank by more than a quarter without the constant pull of gravity to make it work harder. The study compared Kelly's heart to that of famous distance swimmer Ben Lacombe and the parallels between weightlessness in space and swimming. Finally, this week, a comet-like light show across the Pacific Northwest of the United States. It's actually debris from a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket that this week delivered a batch of the company's Starlink satellites before burning up upon re-entering Earth's atmosphere. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.